some boomers up here. Looks like complaining about noise. Them damn kids in there. Bitcoin miners.
They just moved in on top of us. I have a constant headache right in the back of my head or either over my eyes. I've been in the hospital 2 or 3 times.
What's up, Max? Good to see you.
Every family here is sick.
Somebody has to die to get somebody's attention.
I see the impact on their lives. There's just nothing I can do.
The cause is just a few hundred feet from the house owned by the Brownings, a massive Bitcoin mine.
Is I live 500 feet from a Bitcoin mining farm. This is in Texas. If you guys don't know, I live in Texas. So, of course, we got some boomers up here. Looks like complaining about noise. Them damn kids in there. Bitcoin miners.
I don't know if you can hear this, but this little noise meter tells me that there are unhealthy levels of noise. Something strange is happening.
So I'm going to say this right off the rip. I slept in my Bitcoin mining farm for 6 months, and it definitely was not healthy. 100%, no question about it. Unhealthy, felt like shit. 100%. Okay. So there's this problem in which I do agree that unhealthy noise levels can make you not feel good and drive you insane, right?
In this small town 70 miles outside of Dallas, Texas, an invisible force is creeping through the community, ruining residents' lives.
They just moved in on top of us. I have a constant headache right in the back of my head or either over my eyes. I've been in the hospital 2 or 3
Max?
times.
Good to see you.
Every family here is sick.
Somebody has to die to get somebody's attention.
I see the impact on their lives. There's just nothing I can do.
The cause is just a few hundred feet from the house owned by the Brownings, a massive Bitcoin mine. I'm in Granbury, Texas, the site of a Bitcoin mining facility operated by Marathon Digital Holdings. Hundreds of metal boxes contain tens of thousands of computers
crazy.
running 24 hours a day, consuming around 300 megawatts of electricity needed to mine for Bitcoin, the world's largest cryptocurrency. That's comparable to that of a city the size of Austin, with nearly 500,000 households. Bitcoin mines like this are part of an industry projected to reach $2.25 billion in size in 2025. And much of the—
I think they reduce size. No, I guess not now. Not right now. I think eventually they start reducing size, though.
Industry is located here in Texas, where cheap energy, lax rules and regulations, and politicians at the state and federal level who are all in on crypto.
Unleash crypto. Come to Texas. Texas is the oasis.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott appears to be pushing for our state to become more involved with cryptocurrency, saying, quote, Texas is already the home of crypto mining. In this session, Texas should become the crypto capital, end quote.
We're promoting it. We are
Hell
advancing
yeah.
it.
Texas, crypto capital of the world. Let's go.
We want to create a framework that will allow all of that to excel here.
We came to Texas to find out what happens when a state becomes the center of the Bitcoin universe. Who's winning and who's losing? What's the true cost of cryptocurrency and who should be paying for it?
Well, I went to the window and I listened and I thought, man, this is going to be a rough night, and it was. So it'd be a long day for me.
You'd have to take a nap after a while.
We don't have time for a nap, not today. I do need that coffee.
It is like when you're like living around it, I will, because obviously it was also in my house too before we moved out there. So, but it was much louder when I was living in the actual facility. But even in the house, like it is like this crazy, you almost feel like high when the miners turn off. It's hard to explain. And maybe some of you guys as miners know this. It's like when you've been in there all day and you've been working on them, right? Like, let's say you've been working on them, even if you have earphones on and all that sort of stuff, and then you step out and it stops, like the noise goes away or the machines all shut off at once. It's like this, it's almost like a weight's lifted off of you. It's crazy, dude.
Virginia Browning have called Granbury home for 35 years. They're now in their 80s and hope to be enjoying their golden years in this rural community an hour and a half southwest of Dallas.
When we first moved out here, it was real quiet still. We had all kind of animals out here, and we loved it out here.
But 3 years ago, Bitcoin mining started to disrupt their peace, and they say it's been hell ever since.
This is maddening. This is maddening to me, and I just want to scream at somebody. Now I have to worry about vertigo. I also have to worry about my brain not working right.
It never goes away. Headaches never go away.
Ah, there you go. That's the explanation. Tell all those guys calling me mentally ill there. It was because of all the miners, bro. I knew it was something.
Wait.
Just
In
brain
Texas,
doesn't
the
work
legal
right
limit
no
for
more.
noise is 85 decibels. Researchers have found that prolonged exposure can impact hearing and cardiovascular health, increase blood pressure and heart rate.
I have that.
Other potential risks include
That went-
headaches,
that went back
dizziness,
down now.
and
Fixed it.
psychological effects.
85 decibels is considered industrial noise inside of a plant. That would mean that you would have to wear hearing protection all the time at your home.
Many of their neighbors have been
Tell
affected
them to take
too.
their hearing
The
aids
Brownings
out.
told us to go see their neighbor Tom Weeks, who lives just down the road from them. So we did.
Last year, July 2nd, I had a pulmonary embolism and almost died. This is a video that I took one morning. I woke up, I was awakened by the sound.
Wow.
You know, that's our bedroom at, 2 o'clock in the morning.
The idea that these billion-dollar companies that are profiting.
You know, it's creepy, guys. You guys remember, like, I had a pulmonary embolism in 2020? Like, not even kidding. And we were mining in the house. And I did for a while have high blood pressure problems. Sometimes I wonder, I'm not going to lie, sometimes I wonder.
Off of the backs of poor working people.
Yes.
Is that?
It's disgusting. It's cowardly. It's disgusting. There's a certain amount of cruelty to that.
It's a different type of noise pollution. It's not like truck traffic or anything like this. It's a special noise. It's a low frequency noise that is coming from.
My question is like, so we just watched Marathon, the CEO, and he was talking about liquid cooling or immersion cooling. It can't, since they have that money, that's a Marathon Digital farm. Can't they just implement immersion and get rid of 99% of the noise? I think there was a lot of, so 2020, there was no stress for, I mean, I was building a lot of rigs, yeah, and all of that. But my stress wasn't really high because I was able to quit my job or whatever. I think my stress is high now, but there's a lot of other reasons for that.
These operations, and it is incessant.
Cheryl Shadden has lived in Granbury for almost 30 years.
Come on, let's all go.
And has been
Oh, it's
leading the
Granbury,
community's
Texas?
effort to organize and fight Bitcoin mining.
As we're talking, you can hear quite a loud, constant noise all around us.
24/7.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how loud?
What? So I know that, like, when I was looking around at moving my farm down here, when I called and talked to a lot of people, like in Central Texas, like, there's ordinances, right? Like, I have to build X amount away from all houses or whatnot. So, and I don't see anything wrong with that. In fact, I think that's good. I think you should be and there's so much space in Texas. It's kind of baffling that this would happen in the first place.
What is it right now?
This is about an 8.
So it gets worse than this.
It gets worse than this.
Remember the legal limit for noise is 85 decibels? And Cheryl showed us readings in her house into the hundreds.
This is inside of my house.
She and her neighbors who have serious health conditions say they and their doctors believe it's tied to the Bitcoin operation.
2 of my horses are...
Oh, they're unincorporated, so they're only state restrictions, which is 85 decibels. But then she's showing 100 decibels in her house. I don't know. I'm just wondering. I'm kind of wondering, like, there are already regulations surrounding this in my experience. And I'm a little confused as to how this happened.
Being weighed on when the noise is really bad across the street, they're anxious and disturbed and fretful and worried, so it affects them as well. One horse died year before last. I'll never know why. She's been here her entire life and never had any illness or any problems.
The mine in Granbury is owned by Marathon Digital, a Florida-based firm traded on the stock exchange. It's valued at more than $6 billion, with
she has a
profits
Bitcoin
rising
shirt
more
on.
than 13% this year alone. In 2022, Marathon leased...
I think that it is perfectly fine. This is me. I think it's perfectly fine to both support Bitcoin and also say, hey, don't put the miners right next to my fucking house. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, I don't like that we live in a world where it's like all or nothing with everything. Like, no, that's not, like, there's compromise. Like, we can just say, hey, or immerse all of these things. But like, if I say, hey, I think they have some points that this noise level is unhealthy, it's like, oh, so you don't support Bitcoin? That's not what anyone's saying, right? And that's a little frustrating.
Space for their
and maybe she's just smart enough to separate the two.
Bitcoin mine from Constellation Energy, which operates a gas and steam-fired power plant called Wolf Hollow 2 on...
It doesn't look like a Bitcoin shirt, by the way. It looks like a money
site.
Shirt.
We're sitting in front of the crypto
That's
mine,
not a Bitcoin
looking
shirt.
at all of their miners. If you notice,
But
this
worth
is the
the
newer
rant.
wall that got put in by Marathon Digital that's supposed to be sound suppressive.
Fines are
which
cheaper
it's
than the
not.
upgrades.
You can see
Yeah,
a
and
big
we gotta-
gap in it right here.
We got to stop doing that too in the United States, where like the fines should scale with your income. Period. Like, and that's true for speeding tickets and everything else. Because just because you have enough money to drive your Maserati at 200 miles an hour and afford a ticket doesn't mean that you should do it. It should scale with your fucking income. Like, you shouldn't just get away with things because the fine is lower than your income. That's stupid. It doesn't work. And I'm sure there'll be like a whole bunch of people calling me communist for that point of view, but I don't care. I'm not going to shy away from like what's right because of that.
Where there's power lines that run through, so it's not a continuous wall and it certainly doesn't keep the noise in.
But let's back up for a second. What the hell is Bitcoin mining anyway? Regular currency like the US dollar relies on a centralized bank which controls about 187...
I'm sorry, guys. I have heard what is Bitcoin mining for so long now. I don't care.
in litigation against Bitcoin mining operations.
Okay, here we go.
Earth Justice
is one of the least regulated states.
God, don't call yourself Earth Justice. Okay, maybe I'm okay with using good PR terms and changing it. So earlier I'm like, it's just using PR terms to cover up that it's masternodes. Yes, that's annoying and scummy, but like also, if you want to be taken seriously, don't name yourself Earth Justice. Like, come on.
In terms of environmental protections or energy protections for communities.
That's Mandy DeRoche, an attorney with Earth Justice, a legal nonprofit that's representing the residents of Granbury and other communities around the country.
I want to make an Earth Justice shirt now, and then just put a ASIC miner on it with like a no. Earth Justice.
In litigation against
I'm gonna
Bitcoin
make
mining
that shirt
operations.
this weekend.
Bitcoin mining has other harms too, driving up energy costs for consumers, impacting communities' water
Hey, Crypto,
supply,
what's up, man?
and pouring so
Crypto
much
Pounder.
crypto money into
What a
politics
name.
that residents feel like no one is looking out for their interests. To explore all this, we traveled across the state to meet with people who are experiencing the impacts firsthand. First, there's the energy costs. Texas is projected to experience a surge in energy demand, potentially doubling by 2030, driven largely by crypto mining and data center technologies.
They're just
Okay, you can't. It's AI. All right, so we've been looking at this at work because now everybody knows I do work for a power co-op, and I have been hearing people talk about this. It is true, but it's not from like the Bitcoin mining side of things. Most of that's done. Like there's not as like compared to the amount of power coming in for like the OpenAI plant in Abilene, right? Like OpenAI in and of itself is going to be a bulk majority of that.
huge industrial complexes, because as you've needed more and more powerful machines, you've needed more capital, you've needed more land, you've needed more access to energy, and
or
only
just call it
really
ear
well-capitalized corporations can do that.
Protect our ears.
$100 million that a company extracts from the energy market is paid by me and all the other Texans. This is an earnings report that was filed with the IRS. And what this tells us is that this...
Isn't it so crazy that like we still allow Enron to exist at all? Like, does that not seem crazy to anyone else? Like, did they just distract us with abortion and trans rights and homosexuality to argue over while they were like, yeah, Enron can stick around?
One facility resold energy during Winter Storm Uri, so they held on to the electricity that they had. They sold it at a profit during a crisis, right? That's price gouging. In another context, that would be illegal. And instead you have a company that's bragging about the money that it made while people were dying in their homes.
They pay significantly less for their electricity.
Okay, we don't have to get a lot that extreme. Like maybe 2 people died, okay? We're good.
Than everyday Texans.
The places we visited across Texas have a few things in common. They're rural, and they've experienced a loss of industries, like the town of Rockdale,
everywhere,
which once employed thousands of people at an aluminum smelting plant, which permanently closed in 2017. A year later, the town welcomed Bitcoin investors with open arms, with large-scale Bitcoin operations in place by 2020. We met up with Jim Gibson, Rockdale's Economic Development Director.
There is a lot of demand on the energy grid.
Yes.
The price that residents are paying for their energy is going up. Does that resonate with you?
At a personal level, well, there's like 2 parts. Please don't print this part. There's like, is that okay?
I mean, we'd love to have your honest take. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, that's like the one part about it all that I really personally don't care for. So that's just my opinion.
This can't be true. The rise of cost of energy is not due to the Bitcoin miners. If anything, the Bitcoin miners stabilizing the grid would reduce the energy cost because it can bring the load down to a stable point to where the arbitrage for trading energy is reduced. So if energy cost is going up, I don't think that has anything to do with the Bitcoin miners as much as it has to do with the greed of the energy company. Period.
That's not the opinion of the city or anybody else.
The next big harm we heard from residents about was the water usage.
They're manipulating our electricity.
And taking water.
And taking water.
Teresa lives 18 miles from Corsicana, Texas, where Riot Platforms is building out what is expected to be one of the largest Bitcoin mining operations.
Of course,
in the
Corsicana is
world.
pretty awesome if you guys can ever go.
What better place to build a 1 gigawatt site?
Teresa is concerned about Bitcoin's demand for water. Corsicana's mine is projected to use up to 1.5 million gallons of water per day. That's an eighth of the city's water supply. She took us to nearby Navarro Lake, which she says dries up every 4 to 5 years.
This has been a problem in Texas overall, which is the water problem. The water problem's coming from the fact that everybody moved here from California. There's too many people and not enough water, and that's going to have to rebalance itself out, either by hopefully California changing their policies to attract more people back, or some sort of weather manipulation technology. I don't really know. But like, I live in an area, or close to an area where I lived just a couple years ago. I lived in an area that's known for like its rivers, and I lived there kind of gone back there and visited there a lot throughout my childhood, and the rivers were never low. There's natural springs, and there's this one spot where you can go, and the spring was always full, always running. And then after I moved there, and then everybody was moving in here from Austin, to Austin from California, they were building, they basically built this big water pumping station off 35 and started pumping all of the water up to Austin to take care of all the new influx of people. And so now every summer that spring is completely dry.
This is the lake that you are...
Yeah, if you're talking about the Texas floods, but that's not like a normal thing, right? Get a ton of water. That's also not going to make up for the amount of people either, right?
Concern that the Bitcoin mining companies could be drawing water from?
Yes, you've got a lot of people that have moved into this area. Last thing we needed.
What percentage of California is desert too? I mean, it's the same here in Texas. You're going to have more water problems in West Texas than in East Texas. So it's also regulated geographically within the states themselves too, plus population density, right? Like if you build anything along 35, or if you live anywhere along 35, you're going to have water issues because of the population density. Whereas like if you live further out, this situation seems to be specifically, I guess Corsicana population's not that heavy. I'd have to look it up. So it is one industry using up all the water, which is an interesting problem.
There's more pressure on this lake. I know I can survive without electricity. I do know that. I can't survive without water. Our politicians keep going with the corporations, even knowing that
that's
they're
true.
Not being...
Regardless, that is true. That is true. There are spots where Riot and Marathon built that I was not allowed to be in, just like a year before, right? And so they won't support the local guy trying to build the same industry, but they'll support an outside investor that has a ton of money. I really, I'm super bitter about all that. The fact that like I can be ahead of the game, have my business plan ready, present it, and get declined, not from the credit perspective, because I had the capital, but from the perspective of even being allowed to build in the same general area, while Riot can come in and do it the next year, really kind of pisses me off.
Honest. They don't care about us. They want that money.
These ginormous conglomerate corporations are having real impacts. They consume vast quantities of water, especially in Texas.
Not far from Teresa, we met Don Horn, a disabled Navy veteran who lives less than 10.
I get it though. Money talks, and capitalism's great. Yay, free market, where you can only participate if you're rich. Sweet. I love how free the market is.
10 minutes drive from the Riot mine in Corsicana.
The water, it does not smell good. It smells like chlorine now. I've replaced a washing machine and a water heater in the past year. It's not good for me because I have to pay higher electric bills and higher water bills, and I'm on a fixed income as a disabled veteran. It's not good for anyone who lives on a fixed income because it's increasing the price for, all of our power and all of our water and everything.
We reached out to the companies asking for an interview and tour of their facilities, but they declined.
Our clients in Granbury, they've got a tremendous amount of noise pollution that is harming their health.
To be fair, they did release a lot of the restrictions on, so to my previous complaint, it was a timing thing as well, where they relieved a lot of the restrictions as it pertained to data centers and crypto mining. I think like the next election cycle or whatever, when they started doing that whole, when Ted Cruz and Governor Abbott started kind of adopting Bitcoin.
That is impacting their livelihoods. They can't sleep. There's increased fossil fuel generation in their community. There's air pollution, there's water pollution. So it's really the impacted community.
Is there air pollution from any mining? I don't think so. I guess unless you're saying that if all the increased energy consumption's coming from coal, yeah. But is that the case there? I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
That bear the brunt of this industry with really none of the benefits.
These high costs that consumers are paying made us wonder, who's benefiting from Bitcoin mining operations other than the companies themselves?
I think it's important to remember that a Bitcoin mine is generating a virtual product. Nobody's seeing any actual tangible product. There's nothing coming out of that facility.
Adrian Shelley is the director of Public Citizens Texas office, a consumer advocacy public interest organization.
Advocates of Bitcoin mining will say it's good for communities, it's good for jobs, it stabilizes the electricity grid, it can promote a greener energy economy. It seems like two different narratives.
Where's the truth?
Yeah, it's fantasy. They're overselling their product.
No, see, here's the problem. Is he's saying everything they're saying is a lie and everything he's saying is true. And this is you want to know the entire problem with the world right now is that no one could admit when there is a singular point from an opposing side that's true. And therefore, we can never come to a general compromise. I'll go back to what I said in the beginning. I will say that I think that having these large air-powered or air-cooled crypto miners close to population zones is unhealthy, and I think we should come up with some regulation to move it away. But the problem is when I go and I say that to the other side, their stance is no crypto mining at all, and my stance is that. So then they just buckle me, put me in with the other opposing side and won't hear out any solutions. And that is the problem with everything in the United States right now. It's like we can't come to a compromise because people refuse to admit the good points of the other side that they could get together with and create a compromise out of. It's so frustrating. Like immediately this guy says they're all lies. That's not true. Bitcoin mining is great for stabilizing the power grid. That is a fact. So let's try to figure out how can we do that, but also, protect the health of our citizens in the, population centers. Like, it's just frustrating, man.
Product. I think some of them have bought into the hype. Some of them are intentionally misrepresenting what's going on.
All of this makes it even more damning that the politicians representing the residents we spoke to are all in on Bitcoin, which brings us to the crypto money in politics. Texas Senator Ted Cruz received a $350,000 donation from Bitcoin Freedom PAC in 2024.
God, I gotta be careful. I'm not liberal, but I can't stand Ted Cruz. That dude takes so much money from so many people to do what they want and doesn't listen to the people, his constituents. And everyone in Texas knows it. and I still don't know how that guy's elected. I don't. It's frustrating. Other than he's just had shitty opposition.
Or in a tight re-election race against Democratic challenger Colin Allred. The same year, Cruz announced he was getting into the Bitcoin business himself, announcing on X he bought his own miners and started running them in Iran, Texas. Cruz was commended by Marathon Digital's CEO and welcomed to the club. The Texas governor recently signed a bill.
So I just signed a law creating a master plan.
I mean, I'm going to go back to like my disappointment with cryptocurrency in general, but how is any of this different than how we're currently structured economically? Is Bitcoin actually solving a problem yet? I don't know. It is frustrating.
Creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve that could use millions of taxpayer dollars to purchase cryptocurrency. President Trump once called Bitcoin a scam.
Bitcoin, I just seems like a scam. I don't like it because it's another currency competing against the dollar.
But then big donations came into his campaign coffers, and he changed his tune.
If crypto is going to define the future,
of course.
I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's not going to be made anywhere else.
National blockchain lobbyists and his family got in on it too.
The answer is crypto.
What's up, Macron?
And I think that's going to be the future of finance. If we can accelerate that process by going all in on it, I'm for it.
According to Public Citizen, crypto corporations provided nearly half of the $248 million in corporate money to influence federal elections in 2024. And the industry has gotten exactly what they paid for. Efforts to regulate crypto at the state and federal level have been largely unsuccessful.
2 years ago in the 2023 legislature, we had a piece of legislation that specifically regulated cryptocurrency mining. It limited their participation in the demand response program. It prevented them from getting local tax breaks, and it required them to register with ERCOT. It didn't even get refiled this session for a bill that passed the Senate.
Yeah, I remember that. We talked about it.
Refiled this session. That says to me that lawmakers' minds have been changed by something about whether this is an industry that needs to be gotten control of or not.
We reached out to the senator who sponsored.
Well, I could go back to the fact that yes, the importance of controlling the hash rate of Bitcoin as a country is more important than the regulation probably at this point. I don't know. It's something, and so you don't want to stifle it too much, because in our current economic structure, it's not like we can have state-funded Bitcoin mines. So we have to do it through private industry.
The bill, Lois Kolkhorst, but she declined to be interviewed. Cheryl Shadden has lived in Granbury, Texas for almost 30 years and has been taking daily readings of the noise levels. She works as a nurse anesthetist and says she hasn't gotten a good night's sleep since 2022, and her backyard looks directly on the giant facility.
What do you say to some people watching this?
Dude, sell that shit and move, man. I mean, that's the best case scenario. But if you, I mean, so strategically, maybe I'm just, thinking about this too much. But if I was her, I would try to get a documentary to cover it. And then I would use that as leverage to force Marathon Digital to buy me out for a price that's worth way more than my property. And then I would piece the fuck out. I'm just saying that's what I would do.
Who would say, I couldn't live there. Why don't these people just move?
My house is paid for. My house and property are paid for.
But to prevent this, we need to effectively stop people. You can't allow it to be built that close to a house in the first place. I do think there needs to be regulation for that.
Who would buy this place? You have to disclose. My property value has gone down 75% And that's according to Hood County Appraisal District. The reality is my property value is worthless.
Hood County Commissioner for Precinct 2.
Yeah, would you buy that house? Would anyone here buy that house? Out of curiosity, I wouldn't.
Nat Samuelson has been working with Cheryl and other residents to incorporate their community into its own municipality so they can create a noise ordinance since they're currently in an unincorporated part of Granbury.
So they can zone things different, residential or commercial. They can put in noise restrictions.
Yeah, and this is what I think Max was saying it earlier, that the Granbury's unincorporated, so they can't do that. And obviously they need it. Most cities in Texas are, I think. I know that they had some special privileges in Richardson for riot. Just because I was familiar, I think I was looking at I was talking to a company, this is a long time ago, so I might not remember everything, but it was like a 10,000, 15,000 square foot building that I was looking at buying from them. This is back in the heyday. And I had cut the deal with them, and then I was talking to the city, and it wasn't far enough outside the city. It was outside the city limits, but not far enough outside to meet ordinance.
There's just a lot of different
specifically to run a cryptocurrency mining facility. And I think that was Richardson, Texas.
Options available for municipalities than there is for unincorporated county.
And so what has it been like for you as a lawmaker trying to help your people but not being able to?
It's very frustrating because I see the impact on their lives. Sorry. And there's just nothing I can do.
It's the Wild West out there. Our systems take a while to catch up to these problems. And so it doesn't have the equivalent regulations that protect health and protect.
That's such a key point. She's right in the fact that our government doesn't move fast enough for how fast technology is moving right now across the board. And it's almost as if something fundamentally needs to change for us to keep up with the rate of change in technology at a government level, right? I think she's 100% correct here. I don't think that we're able to move and adapt fast enough from a regulation perspective in our current form. Now, the danger is if you can move faster, then there's not enough checks and balances. So I don't know what the solution to that is. But it is clear that our structure from our governmental structure is basically outdated at this point.
Communities like the oil and gas industry or power plants or other sectors that have been around for decades or hundreds of years.
Hood County.
And you can say, okay, well, the free market should take care of that, and the fact that people would sell their houses and move, and then there'd be nobody in that area, etc. But because of the manipulation of the housing market by large corporations like BlackRock, that is basically not even feasible anymore. So I don't know. Something has to change. Not only regulation, but adoption. Look at SpaceX. If it wasn't for that, we still would have Russia launching our shit. Yeah, I mean... You mean adoption of the tech? Yeah, well, the adoption we lay solely on the shoulders. So those two are tied together, right? Because regulation moves slow, private companies and people trying new things happens less, right? So you do have this issue of effectively, because of our regulations moving extremely slow and not adapting fast enough. We don't have a free enough market to capitalize on innovation. But conversely, when we do start to adapt, we don't move fast enough to protect the civilian side of it, right? So it's like on both ends, but those two are directly tied together, right? Which is why when Trump was talking about, removing the regulations surrounding crypto and everything, I'm like, that's extremely good, because crypto, we won't be able to capitalize on the crypto innovation with too many regulations, and we won't encourage. It's like, imagine the amount of people that would be involved in cryptocurrency and blockchain now if there wasn't all of these banks debanking people, and we put regulations in that said, hey, you can't deny people based off of the type of business if it's crypto, right? Stuff like that. How much more innovation, how much further along we would be as a nation in blockchain. Yeah, it's literally double-sided in the worst ways, Alex. That's the crazy part. It's bad on the innovation side and on the correction side.
Is a rural, mostly Republican
or regulation
place,
side, I guess.
With a population of 65,000 people.
It's too slow.
Got more than 80% of the vote here in 2024.
But then the only other option is to just not do it, right? Which is what we're doing. We're like, okay, well, now we're not going to regulate it. So then we just end up in a position where at least we fix the innovation side of things, which I think if you had to weigh it, what would you want to fix? I would want to fix the innovation side of things in a free market first. Yes. But now we have no solution on the other end for regulation.
And what about President Trump? His family is in the crypto business, profiting off of this. What do you make of that?
I have nothing against President Trump because I think his intentions are good, but I don't like the crypto thing. The way he's going about it is not pleasant for all of us.
Did you vote for President Trump?
Yeah, we did, but
How do you feel about that?
they are literally.
They tried to switch this.
No, I don't like it at all.
And to be an anti-Trump.
To him, I wish he'd come over and pay me a visit.
Do you regret your vote for President Trump?
Concerning Bitcoin, yes. I don't have a problem with the industry, but I have a problem with what it's doing to people here. I think that's being ignored.
Did you vote for Governor Abbott?
Yes, I did. But I won't do it again. State politicians, all they see is dollar signs. They don't see people. You're just going to get to a point where I guess.
Dude, that's such a good point, though, and this is true across the board. When that New York mayor was running, and they asked the question of about Israel, and everyone was like, "Oh, I would love to visit Israel," and all that sort of thing. And that guy said, that has nothing to do with my job. I'm going to stay here. Regardless of the rest of his political positions, that was the right thing to say to that. And I think people as a whole now are getting extremely frustrated with the fact that our politicians' focus are on corporations and international governments as opposed to on the people that are frankly, economically suffering right now. And I think that there is so much we can capitalize on there as a people from a voting perspective. And I think as politicians that decide to take on that mantle. But then you see, I don't know if you call him populist candidate or whatever you call him with Trump, that goes against the narrative, says he's going to drain the swamp. He gets in, and then he literally just does what every other president's done, which is, fold to Israel, not release the Epstein list. I don't know. We could go down the whole entire fucking list, but to me, it's like, okay, so light. People are waking up and seeing we need change and that nobody is focused on us as American citizens. Dark, it doesn't even seem like it matters because even if you hire or vote, I should say, and it does feel like hiring, vote in a contrarian, They're just there's something that happens when they come into power that corrupts them regardless of who they are. That's what it looks like to me. And so then I'm like, okay, give me the black pill. I don't know what to do. I don't know how you fix any of this.
Die to get somebody's attention.
Not everyone here blames politicians, though. Larry Potts and his wife voted for President Trump. And despite being in extremely poor health, Larry had a heart attack and a stroke, they say they aren't against Bitcoin entirely and don't blame President Trump for Granberry's problems. But they do blame the companies.
This chart,
I wouldn't even blame the company. The company's going to go wherever it's economically viable. So you have to make it economically unviable, or you have to put in regulation. Like, those are the only two things you can do. And I would say it's definitely not Trump's fault in this particular case. I would say that it's local city government's fault, right?
shows that they're all, even at the highest level of government, from the president on down, they're all connected to these corporations and money tied to Bitcoin.
Bro, that looks like a conspiracy theory chart if I've ever seen one, dude. I'm gonna see if I can get a copy of this, dude. Look, he's got Hut 8 on there. Dude, can we see more? I gotta go. Hold on. I see Hut 8. Trump. He's got Barron and all the sons there. I can't read these. I wish I could. This is some... I can't read that one either. That's hilarious, dude.
These corporations and money tied to Bitcoin.
I have no problem whatsoever with these guys investing in Bitcoin. None. No more than I have any problem with you investing in your investments. But here's what I have a problem with, is with them being concerned about whoever these people are, make sure they're abiding by the rights of the people they're around.
After traveling across the state, it's clear that there's a tension between the politicians and the big corporations who are benefiting from Bitcoin mining and the people who have to live next door to these facilities who are feeling the impact. The takeaway, though, is that the residents here aren't stopping their fight until they get peace and quiet and justice for their community. Before you go...
So why did they take this entire... So here's my problem. Why did they take this entire premise, which has a very real problem, and then morph it into a political campaign against Trump and Bitcoin? And then when the only person that they, kind of interviewed surrounding, or the only people they interviewed surrounding the opposition were wholeheartedly against Bitcoin and not willing to compromise. And the only people that they interviewed that were for Bitcoin were seemed like they were willing to compromise. To me, it almost seems like they tried to make a point that was anti-Trump, anti-Bitcoin, and all they really did was make the point against themselves, showing that they're unwilling to compromise. That's how I feel about it. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. If you would like to see more from this particular episode, take a look up here. Don't forget to also subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support me directly, you can go to sonofatech.locals.com and become a member. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next Tuesday.